How to spot demons in your friends and family, dark Stoic psychology, Stoic life lessons. The world is not as simple as it seems. Some people uplift you, some break you, and some hide in plain sight. They may speak like friends, act like family, and offer unwavering support, but something about them feels wrong. These are not supernatural demons with horns and fire, but psychological predators, manipulative forces who erode your mind, drain your energy, and distort your reality. The greatest danger? You often don't see them until the damage is done. This message is your shield. By the end of this video, you'll learn to recognize these hidden threats, protect your mind, and, when necessary, walk away before it's too late. Welcome to Win Stoic, where ancient wisdom meets modern survival. Let's begin. 1. The deceptive masks of demons. Many people wear masks, not the kind you see in theater or at masquerade balls, but invisible ones, crafted to make you feel safe, understood, and valued. They say the right things at the right time, mirroring your thoughts, fears, and aspirations with eerie precision. They may be friends you trust, family members you've known your entire life, or lovers who whisper promises of forever. But not all who stand by your side truly stand for you. Beneath some of these masks lies something unsettling, an absence of warmth, a mechanical precision in their affections, a hollow imitation of genuine love. These individuals do not give, they take. They do not nurture, they drain. Like psychological parasites, they feed off your emotions, extracting your energy while offering nothing in return. The danger isn't just in their existence, it's in their ability to remain hidden until the damage is done. In your life, who always seems to be in control of how you feel? Someone whose presence leaves you exhausted rather than fulfilled. Perhaps it's a friend who always turns conversations back to themselves, subtly undermining your confidence while cloaking their words in concern. Maybe it's a family member who only shows affection when they need something, making love feel like a transaction rather than a bond. Or it could be a partner who isolates you from others, convincing you that their love is the only thing you need, yet leaving you feeling more alone than ever. These people aren't the mythical demons of ancient folklore. There are no horns, no tails, no fiery pits of torment. Instead, their power lies in manipulation, in how they twist reality to make you question yourself while tightening their grip on your mind. And the worst part? You often don't see it until you're already entangled in their web. In today's world, where social media amplifies curated personas and false connections, spotting these hidden demons has become even more difficult. People can craft perfect versions of themselves online, presenting an illusion of kindness, wisdom, or success while hiding their true nature. They build trust quickly, gain your admiration, and make you feel special, until the moment they no longer need you. This is where Stoic happiness comes in, where Stoicism today can serve as your guide. The Stoics believed that true strength lies not in how others perceive us, but in how we perceive ourselves. If you root your worth in external validation, you become vulnerable to these manipulators. But if you cultivate inner resilience, knowing your values, maintaining emotional discipline, and recognizing the difference between genuine love and manipulation, you become immune to their influence. Have you ever had a boss or colleague who seemed supportive at first, but slowly began to undermine you? They compliment your work while subtly planting seeds of doubt, making you second-guess your abilities. They offer mentorship, but only in a way that keeps you dependent on their guidance. They make you feel valued, but only within the limits they control. At what point do you draw the line? At what point do you recognize that some relationships, no matter how deeply rooted, must be left behind for your own well-being? The Stoics remind us that not all pain is worth enduring, and not all connections deserve to be maintained. Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." If a person's presence drains you, distorts your reality, or makes you feel less like yourself, they are not your ally. They are a weight, keeping you from growth. So, how do you break free? How do you spot these hidden demons before they consume you? The first step is awareness. Pay attention to patterns rather than words. Do they only show up when they need something? Do they make you feel guilty for setting boundaries? Do they manipulate your emotions under the guise of love or friendship? Second, embrace emotional self-sufficiency. The more you rely on others to dictate your happiness, the easier it is for manipulators to control you. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes from within, not from the approval of others, not from the illusion of connection, but from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to tolerate. Lastly, have the courage to walk away. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every relationship deserves to be saved. Sometimes, the most powerful act of self-respect is distance. 2. The most dangerous demons are subtle. Not all threats announce themselves with a roar. The most dangerous demons are not the ones who come at you with open hostility, but those who slip into your life unnoticed, welcomed with open arms. They don't force their way in, they are invited. They do not conquer through brute strength, but through patience, manipulation, and psychological warfare. They come disguised as allies, mentors, even lovers, mirroring your desires, fears, and vulnerabilities with such precision that you believe they truly understand you. And that is exactly how they gain power. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation, said Epictetus, and this is the first lesson in protecting yourself: awareness. The greatest manipulators know that people are not controlled by force but by their own emotions. They study you, learning your weaknesses, shaping themselves into exactly what you need at precisely the right moment. They offer validation when you feel unseen, loyalty when you feel abandoned, and guidance when you are lost. But the moment you lower your guard, the moment you depend on them, their real work begins. A time in your life when someone made you feel truly understood, only for that connection to later reveal itself as something sinister. Perhaps it was a business partner who seemed like a brother, only to exploit your trust when the opportunity arose. Maybe it was a woman who spoke all the right words, made you feel like the most important man in the world, only to twist that love into control. Or a so-called friend who was always there for you until they needed something in return, something that cost you more than you realized. These people don't attack outright. They infiltrate. They wear patience like armor, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And in today's world where social media and constant connectivity allow for more subtle forms of influence, their tactics have only become more refined. They curate their words, their actions, their very identities to fit into the cracks of your armor. They make you doubt yourself, question your instincts, and worst of all, they make you believe that without them, you are nothing. But here's the hard truth. No one controls you unless you allow it. Stoic life lessons teach us that power over the mind is the ultimate defense. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is where what is Stoicism becomes more than just philosophy. It becomes a weapon. When you rely too much on others for validation, for purpose, for a sense of belonging, you make yourself vulnerable to those who would exploit those needs. The only way to protect yourself is to build an inner fortress that no one can breach. That means defining your own values, knowing your own worth, and refusing to let anyone dictate your reality. It means recognizing when someone's presence in your life is a source of confusion rather than clarity, of doubt rather than strength. The manipulators of the world rely on one thing: your inability to walk away. They know that as long as they keep you emotionally entangled, you will remain in their grasp. But the moment you detach, the moment you take back control of your thoughts and actions, their power dissolves. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. The key to spotting these demons is to watch for patterns, not words. Do they make you feel like you need them more than they need you? Do they subtly undermine your confidence while making themselves the solution to your problems? Do they guilt you into staying when you try to set boundaries? If the answer is yes, you already know what you must do. The hardest truth to accept is that some people in your life are not meant to be there forever. Some lessons must be learned and then left behind. Walking away is not weakness, it is wisdom. The ancient Stoics understood this well. Seneca said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. If someone is not making you better, they are making you weaker. If they are not sharpening your mind, they are dulling your spirit." The people who manipulate through patience, who gain your trust before they break it, who disguise their selfishness as love, these are the ones you must guard against the most. The only way to protect yourself is through awareness, self-sufficiency, and the courage to let go of those who do not serve your highest self. And most importantly, if I walked away today, would I feel freer? The answer to these questions will reveal whether you are dealing with a true ally or a demon in disguise. 3. Recognizing the warning signs. The shift never happens all at once. It's slow, almost imperceptible, like the tide creeping up on the shore, one wave at a time, until you suddenly realize you're drowning. The people you once trusted don't reveal their true nature overnight. Instead, small, subtle changes appear, so slight that you dismiss them. A warmth that once comforted you turns cold, but you tell yourself it's nothing. A passive-aggressive remark, disguised as a joke, stings more than it should, but you laugh it off. A glance, a hesitation, a moment of silence where there used to be support. It all feels off, but you ignore it. And that is exactly what they want. The true danger is not just in their actions, but in the way they manipulate your mind to justify them. They're just having a bad day, you tell yourself. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's my fault. The moment you start questioning your own instincts instead of their behavior, they've already won. This is how manipulators, abusers, and psychological predators operate, not through direct attack, but by planting the seed of doubt in your mind and watching as you water it yourself. This is why high-value men develop the awareness to recognize these warning signs before it's too late. The Stoic mindset is not just about enduring hardship, it's about seeing reality clearly, without illusion or self-deception. If you allow others to manipulate your perception, to distort your sense of truth, you lose control over your own life. This is what makes spotting these demons so difficult. They don't break you directly. They make you break yourself. They isolate you, making you doubt the very instincts designed to protect you. They twist your sense of right and wrong, convincing you that their toxicity is either normal, deserved, or, worst of all, your fault. And in a world where deception is easier than ever, where people curate false images of themselves online, where words are carefully chosen to manipulate rather than communicate, the ability to see through the mask is more valuable than ever. How do you train yourself to spot the warning signs before you're trapped? Start by trusting your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Your subconscious picks up on details that your conscious mind ignores. Changes in tone, inconsistencies in behavior, the way someone's energy shifts around you. Do they suddenly make you feel small, uncertain, or insecure? Do they dismiss your feelings, gaslight you into believing their version of events, or subtly undermine your confidence? Pay attention to their actions, not just their words. A person who truly respects you does not need to manipulate you into staying. A friend who genuinely values you does not make you question your worth. A partner who truly loves you does not condition their affection on how much control they have over you. The hardest truth to accept is that not everyone in your life wants what's best for you. Some people want what's best for them, and if keeping you weak, dependent, or confused serves their interests, they will do whatever it takes to keep you in that state. But here's where Win Stoic becomes more than just a philosophy. It becomes your shield. Stoicism teaches that external forces should not have power over your inner world. You are not obligated to justify, explain, or endure mistreatment simply because you have history with someone. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." If someone's presence in your life brings more confusion than clarity, more doubt than confidence, more chaos than peace, you owe it to yourself to step back. The key is emotional detachment, not in a cold, uncaring way, but in the sense that you do not allow others to dictate your reality. A high-value man is not controlled by the opinions, emotions, or manipulations of others. He sees things as they are, not as he wishes them to be, and when necessary, he has the courage to walk away. So, ask yourself, have you noticed subtle shifts in someone's behavior toward you? Do they make you feel uncertain in ways you can't quite explain? Are you rationalizing actions that you wouldn't tolerate from a stranger? The answers to these questions could be the difference between staying in a toxic dynamic or reclaiming your power. The ability to spot these warning signs is not just about protecting yourself. It's about mastering your own mind, refusing to be controlled, and choosing clarity over comfort. You've made it this far, which means you're ready to break free from manipulation. Drop a comment saying, "I trust myself," to declare that no one will control your mind again. Keep watching. Your journey to strength isn't over yet. 4. The ultimate truth. Energy never lies. Words can deceive, and actions can be rehearsed, but energy never lies. You know this instinctively, even if you haven't put it into words. Think about those moments when you've been in a room with someone and felt an inexplicable heaviness settle over you, like an unseen weight pressing against your chest. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, as if your very essence had been siphoned away? Your body knows the truth before your mind is willing to accept it. There are two types of people in this world: those who energize you when they enter a room, and those who leave you feeling hollow, uncertain, and strangely out of sync with yourself. The dangerous ones don't always reveal themselves through what they say or do. Their power is in the subtleties, the way they look at you just a little too long, the way their words linger in your mind long after they've left, the way an uneasy silence follows their presence, as if something is just off. It's not paranoia, it's your instincts sounding the alarm. How many times have you ignored that feeling, rationalizing it away with, maybe I'm just overreacting, or they didn't really mean it that way? But here's the hard truth. Your subconscious picks up on things before your rational mind does. The knot in your stomach when their name appears on your phone, the tension in your shoulders when they enter the room. This is your body screaming at you to wake up. Yet, in a world obsessed with logic, we often dismiss our intuition, convincing ourselves that if we can't prove something, it must not be real. This is why Stoic happiness is built on self-awareness. The ancient Stoics didn't believe in ignoring emotions, but rather in understanding them, learning from them, and not allowing them to control us. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But thoughts are influenced by those we surround ourselves with. If you constantly feel drained, anxious, or unbalanced around certain people, it's not just in your head. It's a sign that their presence is toxic to your mind. The most manipulative individuals do not always need words to control you. They can do it through presence alone, through the tension they create, the power they wield over your emotions without ever raising their voice. They make you doubt yourself, they pull you into their storm, and they distort your reality until you no longer trust your own instincts. Look at the world we live in today. Social media is a breeding ground for manipulation, where people carefully craft images of themselves that hide their true intentions. How many times have you come across someone who seemed charismatic, charming, and intelligent, only to later realize that their kindness was a mask, their wisdom a performance, their interest in you nothing more than a tactic to gain control? This is the reality of Stoicism today. Understanding that true strength comes from knowing yourself so well that no one else can distort your perception of reality. You must train yourself to recognize when someone's energy is corrupting yours. High-value individuals, those who are truly worthy of your time and trust, do not need to manipulate you into staying in their orbit. They do not leave you feeling uncertain, confused, or emotionally exhausted. They bring clarity, strength, and peace. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." This is not just about avoiding toxic people, it's about actively seeking those who inspire growth, who challenge you to become better, and who add to your life rather than drain from it. You owe it to yourself to be ruthless in protecting your energy. And that means having the strength to walk away from those who do not align with your values, no matter how long they've been in your life. Many people struggle with this because they feel guilty. But we've been friends for years. They're family. I can't just cut them off. I don't want to seem heartless. At the end of the day, your energy is your responsibility. You must become the guardian of your own mind, your own emotions, and your own peace. The world is full of people who will drain you if you let them, who will manipulate you through charm, guilt, or obligation. The only way to truly protect yourself is to cultivate unshakable self-awareness. The next time you feel that heaviness, that tension, that deep sense of unease, don't ignore it. Pay attention. 5. How they control you. Control is not always imposed through force. Often, the most insidious forms of control come through subtle manipulation, carefully planted words and emotional conditioning that erodes your sense of self. The most dangerous people do not need to raise their voice, issue direct commands, or physically restrain you. Instead, they use whispers, sighs, and well-placed withdrawals of affection to shape your behavior. They embed guilt in their words, disguising control as concern with phrases like, "I just worry about you." They wrap manipulation in false kindness, saying, "I only want what's best for you." And when you begin to assert yourself, they undermine your confidence with dismissive statements like, "Maybe you're just being too sensitive." Over time, these tactics do something far worse than force you into submission. They make you question yourself. You begin to second-guess your own feelings, wondering if you're overreacting, misunderstanding, or, worst of all, if you are the problem. And this is exactly what they want. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." But how can a man be free if he no longer trusts his own judgment? How can he stand strong if he is constantly manipulated into doubting his own mind? This is why Stoic life lessons are crucial today. Because in a world filled with psychological warfare, a man's greatest weapon is his clarity of thought. The goal of manipulators is not to physically restrain you, but to make you emotionally and mentally dependent on them, to distort your perception of reality until you willingly surrender your independence. You don't need chains to be a prisoner. All it takes is the slow erosion of your ability to trust yourself. And in today's world, where social media, corporate culture, and even personal relationships are filled with people who seek to control through subtle emotional tactics, understanding what is Stoicism can be the key to reclaiming your mental freedom. In the modern workplace, where a manipulative boss doesn't need to fire you outright, but can control you through passive-aggressive comments, delayed promotions, or vague criticisms that keep you uncertain and eager to please. Or consider a toxic relationship where a partner keeps you on edge by alternating between love and cold detachment, making you crave their approval while feeling guilty for having independent thoughts. Even friendships can be a battleground for control. Have you ever had a friend who constantly belittled your ambitions under the guise of concern, who made you feel selfish for pursuing your own goals, who subtly encouraged you to shrink yourself so they wouldn't feel inadequate? These are all examples of control, not through force, but through psychological conditioning. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." This is not about blaming yourself for being manipulated. It is about recognizing that the moment you become aware of the game, you take back your power. The only way to break free is to rebuild your self-trust. Start paying attention to patterns rather than words. Does someone's presence leave you feeling confused and uncertain? Do they say one thing but their actions tell another story? Do they make you feel guilty for setting boundaries, or subtly erode your confidence while pretending to be supportive? If the answer is yes, then it's time to reassess that relationship. The ultimate weapon against manipulation is not anger or retaliation, but detachment. Refusing to be emotionally entangled in someone else's control tactics. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." If someone can control your emotions, they can control you. But when you regain command over your thoughts, when you no longer allow guilt, obligation, or subtle manipulation to dictate your actions, you become untouchable. 6. Breaking free, seeing the truth. Breaking free from manipulation is not just about walking away, it's about waking up. It's about stripping away the illusions, the justifications, the doubts that have kept you tethered to people who do not have your best interests at heart. When you remove the excuses you've made for them, when you silence the voice in your head that tells you maybe it's not that bad or maybe they'll change, you will see the truth with undeniable clarity. These people, these psychological predators, have not been offering you love, support, or friendship. They have been feeding off your energy, draining your confidence, and siphoning your joy, because that is what manipulators do. They do not seek your happiness, they seek your submission. They test how much of yourself you are willing to sacrifice for them, how far they can push before you finally say, enough. This is why understanding the Stoic mindset is so critical, because the moment you see the truth, you have a choice to make. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." And that's exactly what happens when you allow yourself to be controlled by the wrong people. You stop truly living. You become a shadow of yourself, constantly bending, constantly adjusting, constantly apologizing for things that were never your fault. How many times have you felt obligated to stay in a toxic friendship, relationship, or workplace because walking away seemed too difficult, too complicated, too painful? But let me ask you, what's more painful, leaving or spending years of your life giving your best to someone who only takes? This is where Win Stoic becomes more than just a name. It becomes an approach to life. High-value men do not entertain energy vampires, manipulators, or people who use guilt as a leash. They move with clarity, knowing that real strength comes not just from endurance, but from the wisdom to walk away from what no longer serves them. How many men today find themselves trapped in situations where they are constantly giving and never receiving? Relationships where their efforts are met with indifference, friendships where their success is resented, careers where they are used and discarded. Society tells men to be strong, but it rarely teaches them what that really means. Strength is not enduring mistreatment. Strength is not sacrificing your peace to make someone else comfortable. Strength is not proving your loyalty to people who would never do the same for you. Real strength is knowing when enough is enough. It's the ability to say, "I will not shrink myself to fit your expectations." It's having the discipline to set boundaries and the courage to enforce them. It's recognizing that no one, not a friend, not a lover, not a boss, has the right to make you question your worth. The only power someone has over you is the power you allow them to have. So why do so many men struggle with this? Why do they stay in situations that drain them? Because manipulation works best when you doubt yourself. And that is exactly why the Stoics place so much emphasis on self-mastery. Because a man who truly knows himself cannot be controlled. Seneca once said, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." In other words, people waste time fearing change, but act as if they have all the time in the world to fix what is broken. But you don't. Every day spent under someone's control is a day you will never get back. Every moment spent doubting yourself, justifying their behavior, making excuses for why you haven't left yet. These are moments you could have spent building something real, something meaningful, something worthy of your potential. When you finally break free, when you reclaim your power, when you decide that you will no longer be a pawn in someone else's game, you will realize that the only thing holding you back was your own hesitation. Or will you step into the mindset of a high-value man, embracing the philosophy of Win Stoic, cutting off anything that weakens you and building a life that is truly your own? The answer to that question determines whether you remain trapped or whether you finally set yourself free. 7. Your power. Choosing clarity over illusion. The moment you stop listening to their carefully crafted words and start paying attention to how they make you feel, you will see the truth for what it is. Words can deceive, appearances can be manipulated, and masks can be worn for years, but energy never lies. How the mood darkens when they enter the room, as if an unseen weight settles on your chest. How your body instinctively tenses before they even say a word. That is not paranoia. That is not overthinking. That is your intuition screaming at you to wake up. And in that moment you are faced with a choice. Do you continue living in the illusion, pretending everything is fine, or do you choose clarity, even if it means facing the discomfort of the truth? This is where Stoic happiness begins, not in blind positivity, but in the willingness to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. The ancient Stoics understood that the greatest suffering comes not from external events, but from the lies we tell ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." But how often do we resist the truth, even when it's right in front of us? How often do we make excuses for toxic people, just because the alternative, accepting that they are not who we thought they were, is too painful? How many times have you felt that gut feeling, that tension in your body, that unmistakable sense that something is wrong, yet convinced yourself to ignore it? This is how people stay trapped, not because they don't see the warning signs, but because they refuse to acknowledge them. The relationships in your life. Have you ever had a friend who always made you feel on edge, yet you convinced yourself they were just joking when they undermined you? A partner who drained your energy, yet you told yourself they were just going through a phase? A colleague who always made you doubt yourself, yet you assumed it was just workplace stress? These are not coincidences. These are patterns. And the moment you start tracking those patterns instead of making excuses, you reclaim your power. This is where Stoicism today matters, because we live in a world filled with distractions, noise, and manipulation. Social media conditions us to ignore our instincts, to doubt ourselves, to believe curated images over reality. But a Stoic sees through the illusion. A Stoic understands that real strength lies in clarity, in the ability to detach from emotional traps and see people for who they truly are, not who they pretend to be. Why do people hold on to toxic relationships, bad habits, and false hope? Because illusion is comfortable. Because walking away from something, even if it's hurting you, means stepping into the unknown, and the unknown is terrifying. But let me ask you this. What's scarier, leaving a situation that no longer serves you, or wasting years of your life trapped in it? The Stoics remind us that control over our emotions is the foundation of freedom. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The fear of what might happen if you walk away is always greater than the reality of doing so. When you finally let go of the illusion, you will feel something unexpected. Relief. The weight will lift, the tension will fade, and you will wonder why you held on for so long. Your greatest power is your ability to choose clarity over illusion. The next time you feel that shift in energy, The next time you sense that unspoken tension, do not dismiss it. Do not rationalize it away. Pay attention, because your body knows before your mind catches up. And when that moment of realization comes, when the truth is staring you in the face, ask yourself, will you be brave enough to accept it? Will you have the strength to walk away from those who drain your spirit? And most importantly, will you choose to live as a man who sees reality for what it is, or as one who remains blinded by the comfort of illusion? The answer to that question will define the rest of your life. Choose wisely. 8. How to take back control. Not all battles require a sword. Some are won simply by seeing the truth. The most dangerous demons, the manipulators, the energy drainers, the people who twist your reality, do not need to be fought in the traditional sense. They thrive in the shadows of uncertainty, in the spaces where doubt clouds your judgment, where you question your own instincts and convince yourself that they are something they are not. But the moment you strip away the illusion and see them for who they truly are, they lose their power over you. They do not thrive in strength, but in your confusion. They do not overpower you with force, but with subtlety, making you believe that you need them, that you are the one in the wrong, that without them you are incomplete. And that is the greatest lie of all. Because the truth is, the only thing they cannot stand is exposure. The moment you recognize them, when you stop explaining away their actions, when you refuse to let their words manipulate your emotions, they are left with nothing. This is where Stoic life lessons become more than just ancient philosophy. They become a weapon against psychological manipulation. The Stoics understood that the only real power anyone has over you is the power you give them. The moment you stop reacting to their tactics, the moment you refuse to engage in their games, they lose the ability to control you. But most people don't see it this way. They believe that fighting back means confrontation, retaliation, proving a point. But true power comes from indifference. The Stoics knew that the strongest man in the room is not the one shouting the loudest. It is the one who cannot be shaken, who does not allow his peace to be disturbed by those who seek to provoke him. So ask yourself, how many people in your life keep you in a cycle of emotional chaos? How many conversations leave you feeling drained, uncertain, or guilty for things you never did? How many relationships require you to constantly prove your worth? These are not relationships worth keeping. These are not people who deserve access to your mind. In today's world, where social media and digital communication allow manipulation to spread faster than ever, what is Stoicism if not a shield against these influences? Every day you are bombarded with opinions, expectations, and subtle forms of control, whether from the people in your personal life, the media, or even the culture around you. Society tells men to always be accommodating, to suppress their instincts, to ignore their own discomfort for the sake of keeping the peace. But at what cost? How many men stay in toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, or social circles that drain them simply because they are too afraid to see things for what they truly are? Because facing the truth means making a choice. It means acknowledging that some people in your life do not belong there. It means understanding that not every battle is worth fighting, but some doors must be closed for good. And that is where true freedom begins, not in endless conflict, but in detachment. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." This is the foundation of reclaiming your power. You do not need to argue, justify, or seek closure from those who have wronged you. You simply need to remove yourself from their reach. When you stop engaging, when you stop feeding their need for attention, for control, for validation, they wither. Because they need you more than you need them. They cannot survive without your emotional reaction, your investment, your willingness to keep them in your orbit. And once you take that away, they lose the only leverage they had. The lesson here is clear. Power is not about control over others. It is about control over yourself. And the moment you decide to stop entertaining the people who drain you, you step into the life you were meant to live. So, here's the real question. Are you willing to take that step? Are you ready to stop justifying people's toxic behavior and instead see them for what they truly are? Are you willing to put your peace above your need for closure? Because the truth is, not all demons need to be fought. Some simply need to be exposed, and once you see them clearly, they will never hold power over you again. The choice is yours. 9. The final question. How long will you let them stay? At this point, the issue is no longer about them, it's about you. How long will you let them drain you? How many more years will you allow them to occupy space in your life, manipulating your emotions, sowing doubt in your mind, and feeding off your energy? How much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice before you finally say, enough? Because the truth is, these people, the manipulators, the emotional leeches, the ones who distort your reality, only have power as long as you allow them to. They thrive in environments where they are tolerated, where their actions are excused, where their presence is accepted without challenge. But the moment you make a real decision, the moment you decide that you deserve more, that you will no longer entertain their presence, that you will no longer ignore the warnings inside you, they will have no choice but to fade away. Because they never had real power, they only had the control you unknowingly gave them. This is the turning point. This is where the Stoic mindset separates high-value men from those who remain trapped in cycles of emotional exhaustion. And this is the real battle. It is not about them, it is about reclaiming your own mind. It is about breaking free from the guilt, the obligation, the conditioned response to keep giving to people who only take. Think about it. Why do so many men hesitate to walk away from toxic situations? Why do they stay in friendships that drain them, relationships that weaken them, workplaces that suffocate them? Because they fear the discomfort of change more than they fear the pain of staying the same. Because society has conditioned them to believe that endurance is strength, that loyalty is more important than self-respect, that cutting people off is cruel. But let's be honest, who is being crueler? You, for finally choosing yourself? Or them, for continuously taking advantage of your kindness, your patience, your unwillingness to walk away? This is where Win Stoic becomes more than just an idea, it becomes a way of life. High-value men do not waste time on people who bring nothing but chaos. They do not allow themselves to be manipulated by guilt, by nostalgia, by the fear of being alone. They recognize that clarity is freedom, and that means removing anyone who disrupts their peace. And yet most men hesitate. They hesitate because walking away requires confrontation. Not always with the other person, but with themselves. It forces them to admit that they have wasted time, that they have allowed themselves to be controlled, that they have spent years hoping someone would change when, deep down, they knew that they never would. But here's the hard truth. The past is gone. The only thing that matters now is what you choose to do next. Will you continue the cycle, or will you break it? Will you keep making excuses, or will you finally take action? Will you live for yourself, Or will you keep living for those who would never do the same for you? The answers to these questions define your future. The moment you decide to remove the people who no longer align with your growth, you will feel something unexpected. Not regret, not sadness, but relief. The weight will lift, the fog will clear, and you will realize that the power was always yours. The moment you decide that you are done, that you will no longer tolerate the presence of those who drain your spirit, your life will shift. The moment you stop giving them access to your mind, they lose their control. The question is not about them anymore, it's about you, and only you can make the choice. 10. The ultimate lesson: strength over manipulation. Manipulative people will always exist. They are woven into the fabric of society, hidden behind charming smiles, wrapped in concern and disguised as friends, lovers, or mentors. You cannot eliminate them from the world, nor can you control how they operate. But the true key is not merely escaping them. Strength is not found in aggression, nor is it in dominance or intimidation. Real strength is built on certainty, the kind of certainty that makes manipulation ineffective, the kind that allows you to see deception for what it is and walk away without hesitation. It is certainty in who you are, in what you stand for, in the fact that your confidence is not something to be handed over to anyone. It is an unshakable core, one that does not bend to gaslighting, guilt-tripping, or emotional traps. Because when you know yourself, no one can tell you who you are. When you build an internal foundation of clarity, no one can distort your reality. And when your confidence is genuine, no one can plant fear where strength already grows. This is why Stoic happiness is not found in the approval of others, but in the mastery of self. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And what greater ambition is there than to be unmovable in your purpose, untouchable in your peace? Too many men waste years of their lives tangled in the webs of manipulators, unable to see the truth because they are too afraid of what it will mean. They stay in toxic relationships because they fear loneliness. They endure draining friendships because they fear confrontation. They remain in workplaces that suffocate them because they fear the unknown. But what if the real fear should be the opposite? What if the real danger is not losing people, but losing yourself? This is the wisdom of Stoicism today. It teaches that external chaos does not matter as long as your inner world remains unshaken. And that means no person, no situation, no fleeting moment of doubt should ever have the power to make you forget who you are. It is filled with distractions, with carefully curated facades designed to manipulate, with messages that tell you that you are not enough unless you conform. Social media amplifies false narratives. Businesses profit off of your insecurities, and even personal relationships can be a battlefield of control. Where the words seemed harmless, yet over time you found yourself hesitating, questioning, wondering if maybe you were the problem. That is how manipulation works, not through force, but through erosion. It does not strike like a hammer, it wears you down like a slow, steady drip of water against stone, until one day you look in the mirror and no longer recognize yourself. The solution? Fortify yourself so completely that no one can chip away at you. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Freedom is not just about physical independence. It is about emotional and psychological liberation. It is about never needing validation from people who seek to control you. It is about making choices that align with your values rather than out of obligation, fear, or guilt. True strength is walking away from manipulation without anger, without regret, without second-guessing. It is seeing the game, recognizing the players, and choosing not to participate. And this is what separates those who live in constant reaction from those who dictate the terms of their own lives. So the question you must ask yourself is this: are you living as a man who is easily influenced, or as a man who stands firm? Do you bend to the subtle forces that seek to weaken you, or do you remain solid in your own identity? Do you allow fear to dictate your choices, or do you move forward with the confidence that no one, not a friend, not a partner, not a stranger, has the right to decide your worth? The truth is, manipulators only thrive in uncertainty. They only succeed where doubt exists. The moment you eliminate that doubt, they lose all power over you. Strength is not found in overpowering others, but in mastering yourself. It is not about being louder, meaner, or more aggressive. It is about being so internally fortified that no one else's words, actions, or manipulations can shake you. It is about looking deception in the eye and not flinching. It is about knowing that no external force can disrupt the peace that you have built for yourself. And once you reach that level of certainty, you will never again fall victim to those who prey on weakness. You will walk through the world untouchable, not because there are no threats, but because none of them will ever be able to reach you. Most people stay blind to the truth, but not you. If you're committed to seeing through deception, type "I stand strong" in the comments. Stay tuned. There's more wisdom ahead to keep you sharp and unshakable. 11. The transformation. Rising above it all. The moment you reclaim your power, the world around you begins to change. Not because others suddenly become different, but because you do. The energy you once gave away so freely, the time you wasted on those who drained you, the patience you extended to manipulators and emotional leeches, it all becomes something you guard with unwavering discipline. And when that shift happens, two things occur. Those who once sought to control you either fall away, unable to manipulate someone who no longer reacts, or they are forced to adapt, realizing that they can no longer treat you as they once did. This is not about revenge. This is not about proving a point. True power requires neither. This is about self-mastery. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that is the essence of Stoic life lessons. The understanding that real change does not come from forcing others to respect you, but from respecting yourself so deeply that those who do not align with your values naturally disappear. In your life, when you tolerated things you shouldn't have, people who undermined you, relationships that made you feel small, conversations that left you questioning your own worth, why did you stay? Why did you allow it? Was it loyalty? Was it fear? Was it the belief that things might change if you just endured a little longer? This is where most men struggle, caught between the weight of their past and the fear of their future. But what is Stoicism if not the ability to detach from illusions and embrace reality as it is? The truth is, people who drain you do not change unless they are forced to. And often, the only way to force that change is by refusing to participate in their game. The moment you stop responding to manipulation, the moment you walk away from toxic cycles, the moment you reclaim your time and energy, you will notice something incredible. You no longer attract the same kind of people. You no longer entertain the same kind of treatment, and the weight you once carried begins to lift. This transformation does not require a fight. You do not need to argue. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to seek closure. Closure is a lie that keeps people stuck in places they should have left long ago. The need to prove your worth, to justify your choices, to explain why you are no longer willing to tolerate mistreatment, that is just another form of seeking validation. And a man who has mastered himself does not need validation from those who do not respect him. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And bravery in this context means having the strength to let go without needing to be understood. It means walking forward without looking back, not because you do not care, but because you finally care about yourself enough to move on. We live in today. It is full of distractions, of people who seek to manipulate through charm, through guilt, through carefully placed words that plant doubt in your mind. The media tells you what to think, social conditioning tells you what to feel, and toxic individuals tell you that you are not enough unless you conform to their expectations. But what happens when you no longer react? When you stop playing by their rules? That is when Win Stoic becomes more than just an idea. It becomes a way of life. High-value men do not chase validation. They do not beg for respect. They do not exhaust themselves trying to change people who do not want to change. They simply become the kind of men who do not attract manipulation in the first place. And that is the ultimate power. Not needing to fight, not needing to prove, just existing in such a way that anything unworthy of your energy naturally removes itself from your life. 12. The fear of the manipulators. What manipulators fear most is not confrontation, not resistance, not even revenge. Their greatest fear is irrelevance. They do not fear losing control over you because they love you, nor do they fear your absence because they value you. No, their greatest terror is the moment you realize you never needed them in the first place. That is when their grip loosens. That is when their power dissolves. Manipulators, deceivers, and psychological predators thrive in environments where they are essential, where you depend on their approval, their validation, their guidance. But the second you see through the illusion, the second you understand that everything they have given you, whether love, friendship, or support, was always conditional, designed to serve them more than it ever served you, they become powerless. And in that moment, when you stand tall instead of shrinking, when you trust your own judgment instead of questioning it, when you see them for what they are before they can figure out how much they can take from you, the mask finally slips. But this time you are not the one who is afraid. This is the foundation of the Stoic mindset, the realization that no external force has power over you unless you allow it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." And yet, how many men today are not truly living? How many remain trapped in toxic relationships, bound by obligation, guilt, or the misguided belief that they are responsible for fixing people who do not want to be fixed? How many tolerate disrespect because they have been conditioned to believe that endurance is strength, when in reality, real strength is knowing when to walk away? This is why high-value men do not entertain manipulators. They do not waste time proving themselves to people who thrive on control. They do not engage in battles that require them to sacrifice their peace. They simply exist in such a way that anyone who seeks to undermine them is naturally pushed out of their world. Most people do not break free because they do not see the cage they are in. Manipulators do not show up waving red flags. They do not announce their intentions. They start with kindness, with understanding, with words that sound like support, but are really the first steps of control. "I just worry about you. I only want what's best for you. You're being too sensitive. And before you know it, your confidence begins to erode. You start to doubt yourself. You hesitate where you once acted with certainty. You explain away behavior that if done by a stranger you would never tolerate. That is how control works, not through force, but through slow, methodical erosion. And this is why understanding Win Stoic is so critical. It teaches you to trust your instincts, to see people's actions instead of just hearing their words, to recognize when someone's presence in your life is causing more harm than good. But let's go deeper. Why is it so difficult to let go? Why do men stay in toxic relationships, unfulfilling friendships, or manipulative social circles? Because we are taught that loyalty is a virtue, that endurance is noble, that walking away is weakness. But what if the real weakness is staying? What if true strength is recognizing that not everyone deserves access to you? Seneca once said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." If someone's presence in your life does not elevate you, does not challenge you to grow, does not bring clarity instead of confusion, then why do you allow them to remain? The hardest truth to accept is that some people are only in your life because you keep inviting them in. The moment you decide that you no longer require their approval, that you do not need their validation, that you will no longer shape yourself to fit their expectations, they will either adapt or disappear. And either way, you win. And yet, most men still hesitate. Why? Because breaking free requires an internal shift, one that is uncomfortable, one that forces you to acknowledge that you have wasted time, that you have allowed yourself to be controlled, that you have spent years trying to earn the respect of people who were never capable of giving it to you. But here's the reality. The past is gone. The only thing that matters now is what you do next. Will you continue to let others dictate your emotions, your choices, your sense of self-worth? Or will you step into the kind of strength that cannot be manipulated? The moment you make that choice, everything changes. You will stop reacting to insults, you will stop justifying yourself, you will stop explaining your decisions to people who do not deserve an explanation. And when the manipulators realize that their words no longer affect you, that their presence no longer holds weight, that they no longer dictate how you see yourself, they will panic. They will attempt to regain control. They will use guilt, anger, even kindness, hoping to pull you back in, but by then it will be too late, because you will see them clearly. And once you see them, truly see them, you will never unsee them again. So, the final question is this: are you ready to let go? Are you ready to stop fearing the opinions of those who do not respect you? Are you ready to stop explaining yourself, stop seeking closure, stop waiting for people to change? Because the truth is, manipulators do not fear confrontation. They thrive on it. What they fear is the day you stop needing them. The day you become immune to their influence. The day you recognize that you were never trapped. You were just waiting for the courage to walk away. That day can be today. The only thing left to decide is whether you are ready to take that step. Thank you for being here, for taking the time to listen, and for choosing to strengthen your mind and your spirit. The path of self-mastery is not easy, but it is the only path that leads to true freedom. If today's message resonated with you, if it challenged you to think, to reflect, or to take action, then you are already on the right track. Stoic life lessons are not just ideas. They are tools for navigating the challenges of life with clarity, strength, and wisdom. Remember, you are not here to be controlled, to be drained, or to live in fear. You are here to rise above it all, to become a man of value, a man of discipline, a man who cannot be manipulated by those who thrive in deception. If this content brought you value, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Win Stoic for more insights on self-mastery and unshakable resilience. And most importantly, take what you've learned and apply it, because knowledge is only as powerful as what you do with it. Stay strong, stay aware, and keep moving forward. I'll see you in the next one.